It's a great pleasure to be here tonight with you. And usually the first thing I like to do is put my phone on airplane mode. And in case you haven't figured it out, this is a hint. All right. So, welcome to the music room. Tonight we're going to play a repertoire that's going to start with some Django Reinhardt, and then we're going to play my stuff. You know, we're going to morph them, the two repertoires. It's important for me to still pay tribute to Django Reinhardt at times, because Django Reinhardt is to the guitar what Bach is to the keyboard, you know? It's the absolute reference. So the more you study Django, the more you walk in his footsteps, the more you study with him, the better you get for everyone, no matter what you play. Jazz, blues, rock, your own songs, cover, whatever. Your guitar is just going to be better. So, this said, let's start with paying tribute to the master a little bit. Django was born in 1910. At the time when Debussy, Ravel, Fauré, Satie, all these guys were alive and composing and all, and that was the music that was played. And that's what influenced Django the most. Django being a classical musician in essence. See, classical is not a genre. That's not what it means. Classical means the knowing of the laws of nature. So, for example, classical architecture is like, you know, the compass and all. They do like all these cathedrals and all that. This is like these classical principles, you know. It's the same thing in music. We have harmony, which is like the way voices move. There is rhythm. There is a classical thing, meaning a structure that is beyond our own taste. It's like the pure grammar of music. So Django knew all that. He's one of these guys like Beethoven or Mozart who got like all this understanding at birth, which is kind of cool for him. And in 2016, I started transcribing 17 preludes of Django Reinhardt for solo guitar. Sort of like a classical repertoire, but very unique. It's very influenced by Debussy, Ravel, and all. It's the least known repertoire of Django Reinhardt. Everyone, when they think of Django, they think of the hot jazz. But this is at the center, at the essence of everything Django Reinhardt ever played. And so no one ever cared for it. The Django players, they just want to improvise. And the classical people, if they don't have a paper in front of them to play a repertoire like that, they don't adventure anywhere else. So this repertoire has been left alone, untouched, for such a long time. So I spent 5 years transcribing everything. I listened to all the historical recording on Fremo to make sure that they had everything. I transcribed it all, recorded the vinyl, and then prepared the recitals. I started giving recitals of the full thing, of what I call Django the Impressionist in 2019. I started to play the full recital, and then I took opportunity during confinements to do the book of transcription. So now it's a complete thing. There is a vinyl, there is a book. Anyone who wants to learn can. So now it exists. We have a precedent. We know the size of it. It's 17 prelude. It exists. So it's important for me to start with this repertoire, because although it's not like the first thing we know of Django, this is really at the essence of his playing. And I'm going to play the first one he ever recorded in 1937, when he's 27 years old. He's recording an album with his jazz band, and they said, do you want to record a solo piece? He said, okay. So he recorded it, and it had no name, so they called it improvisation. Then any prelude that didn't have a name, they call it improvisation 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but they are really like preludes, they're composed. This one, the number one, is the first one he recorded. It's very inspired by Debussy, Ravel. It's a very difficult place to play, but it's very beautiful. You will recognize like the way Debussy treats the tonality, very floating. It's not major or minor, it's something else. So I'm gonna play it right now. It's called Improvisation Number 1. Oh, and I'm gonna use that mic for my guitar. That's not for you, that's for Brian on sound. Thank you. I'm going to play a second one before I call the band. This second one is called Improvisation 2, but that's not the next one. There is like a few in between. But it's a very beautiful piece, played with the fingers, finger style, which is kind of unusual in the Django repertoire usually, but that shows that he was perfectly good classical player too, like the right hand technique. And this one really shows the different, like the non-major minor thing, like the more floating type of tonality like Debussy. See, Debussy, like a major is more something like this. Voilà, that's major. And minor would be more like that. So, see, very major, minor, you recognize those things. And, but the floating stuff, see, it's not exactly, so it's not like no major or minor, but in it there is like there are like a very tonal things like that. The trick is to place a little chord or a little something that diffuse the effect. For example, on the second part of this, you have that. So if I stop here. It's like Sunday morning at the church. You know, it's like the traditional, most traditional harmony you can find. But what Django does, for example, and the second, he throws this wrench in that party, you know, this chord in that it diffuses the effect of the tonality. Because when he throws that chord, it's not major or minor anymore. It's something else. And it's impossible to analyze. You cannot decide it's this or that. It's several things all at the same time. So it's genius, just like, it's beautiful. Also because no one in university will be able to decipher it. I love that. Anyway, so I'm gonna play the full prelude right now. So not only did he capture like all these like technical stuff, that grammar, you know, coming from Debussy and Ravel and all, but he seemed to have also channeled the mythological content of these pieces. You know, like when you read those titles like Ondine, Scarbeau, or like Danseuse de Delphes, Adelphi's Dancers, and like all that mythological stuff, like Prelude to the Afternoon of a Faun, from the poem of Stéphane Mallarmé, with like magic forests and fauns and stuff. So there is that flavor in it, definitely. It's called improvisation too. Thank you. So now, the band. Josh Kay on guitar. Ari Folman-Cohen on bass. And Nick Anderson on drums. So now we're going to go to Django phase 2, which historically is probably phase 1, but whatever. If you don't mind, Brian, I will now get rid of that mic stand. If you don't mind picking it up and turning my mic off, and thank you. Not off now, off when I'm done talking. Thank you, Brian. So, Django was born in 1910, and at the end of First World War, you had people from Center France, from Auvergne, playing a musette, which is a little bagpipe. They are traditional music they used to own, like all the restaurants in Paris. And the Italians who are looking for jobs after the First World War started to go to Paris, and they brought with them the accordion, which was a new instrument. And they started to play the musette music on the accordion. And the gypsies who were there with their guitars and banjos, guitars and stuff, started to play with them. And a whole thing was kind of born overnight, like with a specialty of waltzes. And we call it the musette. It's a very important style in France that was born almost overnight at that time. And Django, when he was 10 years old, became a professional musician playing the musette dances like that. He would play from like something like 8 p.m. till 8 a.m., like every night, because there was no jukebox or radio or anything back then. You wanted music, people had to play. So that's how he learned. And he composed a few of these waltzes. And you will see, like, we're going to play two of them. He never recorded them, but other people did. So we're going to play two of them that he composed at about age 12. The first one is called Montagne Sainte-Geneviève, and it's the alpha and the omega of the Django style, you know. Anyone who wants to learn Django has to study that waltz. It's the first thing you study, the alpha, and it's so difficult, it's the last thing you're able to perform, the omega. So, it's called Montagne Sainte-Geneviève. Thank you. Not bad for a 12-year-old. And then the next one is called Jin Jin. It's another of his composition from that same time. Thank you. We're going to play one last waltz for you, so to complete this cycle of waltzes. And it's called Indifference. It's a waltz composed by Tony Murena, great accordion player. And then we're going to merge it to a more modern, crazy guitar gypsy waltz called Valse de Vasso. It's a crazy waltz. And we're going to play that Indifference a bit different with what we call a 6/8. It's still like waltz playable, you know, but the beat is a bit different, so it's a little bit of a change. So it's called Indifference. Thank you. Phew. All right. And then came jazz. So, I know that everyone gets confused with the word jazz. It's not a genre. Same thing. Jazz is how they named the archetypal frame that was born in the late 19th century in New Orleans, the swing. That frame, we don't know who was there, how it was born, but we know the right people were at the right time, in the right place, with the right instrument, and they gave birth to that primal frame. And then later on, you know, like little by little, musicians have learned from that frame, but everyone twisted it his own way. See, there is always a uniqueness and always a sameness. So that's what Plato described as the intelligible and the sensible in the Timaeus. I don't know if you read it. It's like the only real difficult text by Plato. But anyway. No, it's true. The rest is like, I mean, it's not Kant, you know, like critique of pure reason. Oh my God. Anyway. It's great, but it's horrible to read. Now, like, for example, the idea of a tree. We know a tree when we see a tree. You know it's a tree. It could be an oak tree, a pine tree, any kind of tree. Apple tree, cherry, whatever. But it's a tree. But now, there is also the pine tree and the oak tree. They are still trees, although they are already different. And now, in the whole existence of all those oak trees, which is, when is the moment there was a first oak tree? Is that the pre-oak tree, and suddenly there is the oak tree? Is that something before? It's very hard to conceive all that stuff. But anyway, you have the oak trees. There is not two oak trees that are the same. They're not the same, ever. They don't have the same weight, the same color, the same shape, the same anything. They could get close, perhaps very similar, but never exactly the same. Because things don't manifest twice the same. There is a uniqueness. Like human beings, there's humanity as a whole, and there is like single units, and we're all different. We're all humans, but we're all different. So there is a sameness and a uniqueness. And very often I notice that there is I see that in my music colleagues, especially like for example, for jazz, the confusion between what is the same and what is unique. For example, when I hear Miles Davis, I hear a lot of Miles Davis, but I hear the frame in the background. But trying to groove like Miles Davis, it's a mistake because he grooves like himself because he's unique. But there is a formula for that groove to be born, and everyone should like make his own groove from that seed, that DNA of frame, you know, that archetypal frame. Anyway, whatever. So, 1917. Yeah, but it's important to know what word. See, when you use a word, it's good to be able to define the word you're using. Okay, I'm talking about that. Okay, then you become precise. So, in 1917, when the first musicians started to arrive in Europe during the First World War, playing jazz, they recorded an album, I think, in London. It was the original Dixieland Jazz Band, first jazz record ever. And in this record, there was a song called Tiger Rag. And Django, in his first album, he also recorded Tiger Rag. So we have to play Tiger Rag. Also, because it's the tune we recorded for my new project called Django New Orleans, which is a crazy project, my friends. We're 9 on stage. It's a 9-piece band with a singer, there's sousaphone, drums, percussion, trumpet, saxophone, clarinet, everything. And of course, there is the 2 guitars and the violin. So there is a Django sound in that whole thing, you know. And it's a lot of fun. It's really amazing. Actually, we have a concert September 16 in New York City at Le Poisson Rouge. So if you are in or near New York City, September 16, it's a Saturday night. Don't miss it. It's like a big room. It's going to be a party. It's like concert and party. It's amazing. But anyway, so we're going to play it now. and it's called, that's the entrance of jazz in this concert, and it's called Tiger Rag. Thank you. Tiger Rag. Now we're going to play a song that's also featured in the album Django New Orleans. We actually released the album in May. First record, of Django New Orleans, that big 9-piece project, which is going to be September 16 at Le Poisson Rouge in New York City. I'll be there. You do whatever you want, It's a traditional song from New Orleans called Joshua Fit the Battle of Jericho. It's really cool. Thank you. We're going to play one last Django song, and then we're going to move on to my stuff. Meanwhile, if I could get a club soda, that would be amazing. Thank you. Diet Coke? Whiskey? Vodka, perhaps? No, nothing? Okay. All right. We're going to play a composition of Django Reinhardt called Hungaria that he composed in the early 40s, like late 30s, early 40s. Thank you. That was easy. Now, now we're going to switch a bit to my songs. The next one is a composition I wrote for a Woody Allen movie. It's a song called Big Brother, and that's one of the themes that was featured in the movie Vicky Cristina Barcelona. It is actually the theme of all the love scenes. Thank you. Thank you. The next one is another composition I wrote for a Woody Allen movie. It's called Bistro Fada, and that's the main theme for the movie Midnight in Paris. Thank you. Okay. We're going to play another one of my compositions from the album Dreamers of Dreams. It's a song called Lascaux. Lascaux is a cave in France, in the southwest, actually closer to Limoges, a little bit, whatever. It's like the oldest cave used to be until like a few years ago, but let's pretend it's still. The oldest the cave with the oldest paintings we know from humans. It's about like 20,000 years old, all right? And that's the most famous one, you know? Actually, it's my friend's grandpa, when he was a kid, who found it with his friend. They were a group of friends. They found it. Gaël Rouillac. You know Gaël? The guitarist? Yeah. He just told me this summer we were together in France. I spent 2 months on vacation there. Eating, drinking. That's terrible. For the health. But for the soul, ooh, it was great. But anyway. Hey, so you have to pick your battles, you know. So, Lascaux is a cave with, you know, like with a lot of paintings of animals and stuff. And I remember they always said, like, since I'm a kid, you know, it's cool. Okay, you see Lascaux. They painted these animals, so we know which animals they were. And we found some traces of food on the ground. So this is the kind of food, things that we really don't care about, honestly. Let's be honest here. No one cares. Except if you care, but it's because for some reason you're interested in that one thing, you know what I mean? Like the food that was in the vase that we found, but not like the vase itself, whatever. And there is this woman, this French woman, Chantal Jacques-Wozniak. She's a very hard name to, I say Wozniak because I don't know how to say it. It's very Polish with a bunch of letters. It's Wozniacki, something like that. But anyway, she's great. I love her. What she did, she noticed that on the equinox, or the solstice, I forgot, the sun was hitting the back of the cave. This is one of those again, you know what I mean? So it seemed that there was an alignment like that with the paintings. So she had a great idea. She tied like all the dots, like the eyes, the tip of the horns, of the feet, whatever. And she found that it's actually a map of the sky. So actually, it seems that these were constellations or something like that. And it was probably a place with like rituals, constellations, mythology, who knows what kind of mushroom was growing in those caves back then. But you know what I mean? And for me as an artist, you know, it also brings a question. I don't care about the animals that were there, but like someone who paints frescoes like that, scenes of hunting, you don't just do that. You don't just come and be like, hey, I'm going to paint like scenes of hunting and stuff. It's not like that, really. You need some training, you know what I mean? So someone has been practicing. They found the right colors. They notice the sky. There is like a lot of involvement, like artistic involvement also behind, which is hard to explain. So it's deeper than we think, I think. Something like that. And so I wrote a song that reflects not only those great mystery, but it's some sort of an ode to our ancestors that were living in those caves like 20,000 years ago, like painting these frescoes and stuff. So like humans, you know? So it's called Lascaux. Thank you very much. Thank you. We have 3 more songs for you tonight. The next one, speaking of mythology, is called Prometheus. Prometheus is part of human nature. You know, it's a myth about that part of us that is not nature. You know, Prometheus is not a god, he's a titan. So he's fighting with the gods, fighting with nature, you know. He stole the fire of the gods, of Hephaistos, to give it to the humans. Anyway, it's a very deep myth. And we can't escape this part of our nature, the Promethean nature of man, unfortunately. It's the technological man. So at times I love technology. For example, the dentist. I love the dentist. If there is a dentist in this room, I love you. Okay? You are? I love you. Thank you so much. And great. Because I wouldn't exchange the 2023 dentist for the medieval dentist. You know, we have to confess, great progress have been made. You know? So, for example, that's an example. To me, that's the most important example, is to go to the dentist with a smile and be like, oh, it's not going to hurt. So, anyway, whoever had like a toothache one day knows. So, but then there is also like that whole thing. Now, like when we live, this is the body. This is like empirical. This is concrete. But then there is also the world of ideas. And then we are bombarded with like information constantly, all kinds of information. You can pick whatever you want. It's saturated with like informations, opinions, one stupid thing after the other, no time to think. And that part is really annoying me. But anyway, with a cell phone, like constant. What's the news? What's the news? The news, the this, the that, this happened, this happened. I don't know, man. The world is a big place, you know. Let me take care of what I can here. You know, like the old days. So that's technology, the good and the bad and the ugly. So Prometheus, the myth. And also Prometheus comes from a great body of mythology from Greece, which is at the foundation for like all European civilizations. And this is the whole human psyche, all the human nature, the human tendency. Everything is like told in those myths in a very symbolic way. It's wonderful, incredible. I highly encourage anyone to always read these myths and discover our own nature. There is a guy, an American guy named Robert Graves. He did a compilation of all the myths in order, beautiful, the best. Even in France, it's translated and everyone uses it. We don't even waste our time to have like a French scholar redoing what has been done so perfectly. So Robert Graves, the Greek myth, easy to remember. If you want to read, that's the book. Okay, now we're going to play that song. So it's Prometheus, but it's also a reflection of that entire Greek mythology, the universe of the human psyche. Thank you very much. So we have two more songs for you now. The Last Before Last. It's a song about space travels. It's inspired by the Voyager spacecraft that is crossing the universe right now as we speak at the speed of a bullet. It was sent in the universe in the late 70s by a team of the NASA, but what's his name? Carl Sagan was working on it too. He brought a little bit of poetry in that project. I love Carl Sagan because he was able to translate in very beautiful poetic words all the findings of science. Very great guy. And when I wrote this song, I had in mind those imagery in the style of like 2001 Space Odyssey, which I personally consider the greatest movie ever made, but it's just an opinion, so it's worth 0. But it's just for me, you know, in my own ranking. Of course, behind Twin Peaks and the whole David Lynch world, because it's like different. but it's right up there. Like to watch 2001 Space Odyssey is like to listen to a Mozart symphony or something. It's like great, classical, incredible cinema. Anyway, so this song is inspired by that, like that space travel. So it's called Voyager for Carl Sagan. Thank you. Josh K on guitar. Nick Anderson on drums. Harry Folman Cohen on bass. Brian on sound. Thank you everyone here, Brandon, everyone for the welcoming and for having us. It's really a wonderful, wonderful room. And Cape Cod's beautiful too. So it's good to see you all here. It's great. We have that show, you know that, September 18 at Le Poisson Rouge with Django in New Orleans. 16? It's a Saturday. I have flyers over there. Please take some flyers. Because my manager, she threatened to kick my ass if all those flyers are not gone. So, there is also a mailing list if you want to put your name, email, and know the next time we're back. And also I have CDs, I have vinyls, I have the book, the whole store, the whole gift shop experience, the whole post-art event American gift shop experience. You know, one day I'm in Israel, and I'm visiting the city of Masada. And after that, when we leave with my Israeli friend, and we go, and there is a gift shop. I was like, okay, let's go to the gift shop. He's like, man, there's only crap that they sell here for tourists, and it's very expensive. I say, yeah, but I'm American. So let me indulge in going to the gift shop after. And I went, and I had to buy a couple of things. You know, it's compulsive. I love it. I love the gift shop, in museums, everywhere. It's the best. Anyway, I don't even know why I'm saying all that. Must be the end of the night, starting delirium, you know. So the last song is 2 songs. There's a little piece called Carbon 14 that's going to walk us out of the show through the desert. But before that, we have a full song called Train d'Enfer. So Train d'Enfer is French title because I'm also French. What? You're awfully silent. I'm American. You know that? No? When I say that, people don't believe me, but I am American. I have my passport and all. I don't know, they gave it to me, so now they cannot kick me out anymore. And I'm telling you, it's so convenient to cross the border. You don't have to do that long line and put your fingers and show the photo and all. No, they come and say, welcome home, sir. Thank you, sir. Have a good night. You know, we're all very happy, you know, to see each other with the TSA officers. So, but whatever. I'm also French. And the title is Train d'Enfer. Train d'Enfer means train from hell. No, it means frantic pace. But the wording is train from hell. Ooh. Thank you very much. Harry Folman Cohen, Nick Anderson, Stephane Wrembel, Josh Kay. Thank you so very much for being here tonight. And hopefully we'll see you soon again. And yeah, have fun. Peace.
Let's hear it, ladies and gentlemen, for Stephane Wrembel. Stephane Wrembel, ladies and gentlemen. Don't forget to check the Music Room Facebook page and musicroomcapecod.com for upcoming shows. Next week at the Music Room on Friday, we've got Maria Maldar. Saturday, we've got a blues show with Neil and the Vipers. Stick around and listen to some music. The kitchen and the bar is open till 1 a.m.